Good morning, and welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad you're with us. My name is Emily O'Neill, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a member of the Minister Search Committee and your Family Promise team. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. A special welcome to those at home who are joining us on Zoom today. If you're attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can know more about you. I'm going to invite Terry and Celeste up for a quick announcement about our artisan market.
We're a team.
We are a team. Good morning, everybody. Remember this, 3 weeks. 3 weeks from yesterday is the annual Holiday Artisans Fair. In your order of service, you have a handout. Please take that home with you and take a few minutes to take a look at it. We are asking right now for you to be saving your shopping bags with handles so that our customers will have something to put their many, many purchases in. And go through all your old jewelry. I did that this morning. I said, I know my daughter gave me this, but it's been 6 years since I put these earrings on. It might be a hint. Somebody else would do better with them. Reggie will not only sell them at the Classy Crafts table, if they have stones and other things, she will take them apart and remake them into new fabulous jewelry that you wouldn't even recognize, and it's wonderful. So go through those jewelry boxes, ladies and gentlemen, and we're gonna have a box out there by our poster in the foyer. And speaking of the poster in the foyer, we have posters for you to take, cardstock posters and paper posters. If you live in any kind of conglomerate living where there is an activity bulletin board, or if you go to the library, or if you have a local store that has an activity bulletin board, please come and take some of these posters and spread them around. And do be coming to see us afterwards at our board to sign up. We need people for setup to do tally sheets on the Friday, the day before, in the morning. Really fun, coffee clutch kind of an activity, right?
Yes.
We need people to set up tables. We need people to be baking and cooking and contributing things. And if you're a crafts person, you can see everything on the sheet that we need. And we need you to come and shop and bring money. So that's also important. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So questions, see us and come to see us at our board in the foyer after the service. Thank you.
I have 2 more announcements. The first is less stacking of chairs after church services. So we have new renters that come in at 12 noon and we'll be using some of our chairs. So we'd like everyone to stack only these chairs in this half of the building. And you can stack them by the windows, but please leave these chairs. Also, the Minister Search Committee is having its last community meeting after the service today, and it starts promptly at 11:15 in room 7 and 9. So grab a coffee and meet us over there. We'll try to be done by 12 o'clock. So now we invite you all to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones so that we can be fully present to one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee in the kitchen window and stay for conversation in the foyer. We encourage you to find someone you've never met before and introduce yourself. Those on Zoom may stay on and connect with one another. And now, let us center our hearts and minds with the ringing of the chimes.
Good morning. These opening words are written by Reverend Tara. As we settle into our time together this morning, I invite you to take a breath and allow yourself to arrive fully. Arriving fully in the here and now is actually what we'll be reflecting on today. What is the role of simplicity in our lives? How do we sink into the present moment? What helps us to feel in touch with the sacred now, the presence of God, that deeper awareness that we are here and now, and we are one? Author Anne Lamott once reflected, excuse me, quote, "My soul was feeling deeply worn out. The one thing that revived me was to clean my house. Puttering helped, as did sweeping, working with my hands at simple tasks like washing dishes, because it's monk's work." Through story, reflection, song, and readings, we'll explore the monk's work of our lives. Come and be welcome. Let us worship together.
As we light our sanctuary chalice this morning, those worshiping at home are invited to light a chalice or candle near you to connect us to one another. Enter with me the sacred space. Bring with you what is yours, a burdened heart, a joyous song, a wearied spirit, a seeking mind. Bring the gift of yourself to the altar. It is an honorable gift. And now, as Dale plays it through once, please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 9 in the gray hymnal, "No Longer Forward Nor Behind."
Two Teachers and a Tea, an old Zen story. About a century ago in Japan, there lived a Zen teacher named Nanin. One day, a university professor came to call on Nanin at his temple. Come in for some tea," welcomed the old Zen master, leading the professor into the tea room. They sat down across from each other at a small bare table. The old master sat in silence, perfectly at ease. Occasionally, he smiled at the professor warmly. Other times, he gazed out the window at the enchanting temple gardens. But the professor grew increasingly edgy with the silence. He squirmed. He tapped his fingers on the table mindlessly. He fixed his eyes anxiously upon the door through which the tea should have arrived. Finally, the professor could bear the silence. A minute could not bear the silence a minute longer. The only thing that came to his mind was to discuss a lecture on Buddhism he'd just given at the university. And so, clearing his throat loudly, the professor began a lengthy speech. The old master, Nanin, made a fine audience. He nodded in a friendly way at the professor's most outstanding points and seemed to have a look of unending curiosity. So the professor was encouraged to keep going. After all, lecturing was his business. After half an hour, still no tea had arrived, but the professor thought it might be impolite to bring attention to that fact, so he continued with his speech on Buddhism. Nanin continued to be the most courteous of audience. At last, an attendant carried in an elegant tray with a ceremonial teapot and 2 cups for the men. Nanin smiled in his relaxed way. In the deliberate manner of a Japanese tea ceremony, he carefully placed a teacup before his chattering guest. Then Nanin slowly began to pour the hot liquid into his guest's cup. He poured and continued to pour until tea water ran like a small waterfall over the cup's brim and into his guest's lap. At this point, the professor's lecture came to an abrupt halt. "What are you doing?" he spurted. "Can't you see that there's no more room in this cup?" Nanin looked at his visitor earnestly. "Just like this cup, sir, you are also too full. You have too many ideas and opinions to learn. Please, first empty your own cup. Then together we can learn something useful about Buddhism."
Good morning. Monk's work. I do a lot of what I imagine is monk's work. Living alone, I cook, I clean, I do laundry, I even wash windows. I imagine that monks did all of those things. And many of you know that I dabble in ceramics, and I'm an avid gardener. At times I find some of those things to be somewhat renewing and spiritual, particularly the gardening. But the monk's work I want to talk about this morning is music, singing, and listening. For 50 years, I was a practicing Christian and did a lot of singing in various churches in which I was a member. It all started when I was 4 years old and I stood in front of my congregation in Lutheran Church and I sang "Jesus Loves Me." And for many years I sang in the Portland Choral Arts Society, which includes much religious music in its programming. During those years, I was a theist. And when I was singing a particularly inspiring piece of music, I would often feel that I was glorifying God and perhaps transmitting God's message to others. Monk's work. For me, it was a very special spiritual feeling. In more recent years, as my beliefs changed and my singing ability diminished, my feelings of spirituality and awe came from listening rather than singing. My vision of a gathering of monks is that some are singing and some are listening. So for me, listening to some pieces of music, Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, or the theme to Schindler's List, caused me to pause and reflect, creating a renewing spiritual moment. I marvel at the ability of composers to create inspiring music that makes me pause and wonder. Wonder about the marvels of nature, wonder about how I got here, and wonder of what is beyond this life. And I suspect that monks wondered the same things as they did their daily activities in the monastery.
We are a freely gathered, open, and welcoming faith community supported by your contributions. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a nonprofit organization whose mission aligns with our Unitarian Universalist values. This month's Share the Plate recipient is My Place Teen Center, a free year-round after-school program in Westbrook offering comfort, meals, resources, and hope for kids ages 10 to 18. You can find more information in your order of service. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed through the donate button on our website or, if you are a member, on Breeze. If giving through Breeze, please note if the donation is your pledge or a gift to our Share the Plate. If you are visiting us for the first time this morning, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received.
Our reading this morning comes from kind of a funny source. It's an interview I read between writer Betsy Shirley with translator Carmen Acevedo Butcher in Sojourners magazine, the edition that came out in May of this past year. And this interview is with a translator who translated some of the works of a 17th century Christian mystic named Brother Lawrence. And Brother Lawrence was part of my inspiration for this service coming together. These are a few excerpts from the interview. Christian mystics have a definite dramatic streak. Their transformative encounters with God are full of divine revelations, Julian of Norwich, ecstatic visions, Teresa of Avila, stigmata, Francis of Assisi, erotic imagery, John of the Cross, and all manner of artistic compositions. Here's to you, Hildegard of Bingen. But then there's Brother Lawrence, who, if he is known at all, is known for experiencing God's presence as he washed dishes, cooked eggs, or did other monotonous chores that came with life in a 17th century French monastery. Brother Lawrence, after entering a Carmelite order in 1640 Paris, tried to pray, but spent the whole time rejecting thoughts and then tumbling back into these same thoughts. Eventually, he gave up all his spiritual exercises and focused on becoming aware of God's presence as he did his assigned work in the monastery's kitchen. What he experienced wasn't a celestial vision, but what he had sought all along, God's peace. I flip my little omelet in the frying pan for the love of God, he said. Brother Lawrence advises those who come to him not to overdo it on spiritual practice. He said, God does not ask much of us, merely a brief thought of them from time to time, a little love, sometimes asking for grace. It's presence prayer. It's not meant to be right or wrong. It's meant to be you. What have the mystics offered to help resist the toxic systems and influences in our lives? The mystics have offered so much. Lectio Divina, community, the reminder that the ordinary is holy. Overall, they just show us what love is all about. Therein ends the reading. I totally relate to Brother Lawrence, who tried to pray but spent the whole time rejecting thoughts and then tumbling back into these same thoughts. I'm guessing some, or maybe even all of you have had this experience with meditation or with prayer. I used to be really committed to finding a set of spiritual practices that worked for me. I practiced and taught yoga for years. I've had years where I practiced meditation regularly, was part of a sangha. Other years where I had a deep practice of centering prayer. I've begun my mornings with morning devotional readings. I've done journaling, lighting candles, breath work, the whole 9 yards. Some of the time, some of these months and years, I was super disciplined. Other times more relaxed. It's all part of the faithful path of living, I think. Ultimately, this quote from Anne Lamott and this interview with Carmen, the translator of this piece by Brother Lawrence, made me feel so deeply seen. If I'm honest, it's not spiritual practices that I add to my life that have brought me most deeply into communion with the present moment or with God. It's been the mundane things, the tinkering and puttering in my home, the soapy water and sponge in my hand, the careful drying and arranging of my silverware in the drawer, organizing my books, taking out the recycling. The places in my life where I connect most deeply with the presence of God, with present moment awareness, are right inside the life I already have. I'm beginning to realize that it's okay that my relationship with the divine is found right inside my own messy life. Adding things has never, for me, stuck, because it's always been right here. My faith is sustained by my calling as a parish minister, the work of deep relationship. But my worn out soul, twisting the warm, soapy sponge around the rim of an old favorite mug, from which I sip coffee each morning like it's the nectar of the gods themselves. I am a monk, and I have everything I need. Blessed be, and may it be so.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. About 10 years ago, just like Anne Lamott describes in the quote from Reverend Tara, my soul felt worn out. No matter what I did to care for myself, this deep tiredness remained. It was easy to point to possible reasons. My work as a therapist had become more draining than energizing. Old relationship patterns were irritating and unsatisfying. And I was noticing a long, ongoing resistance to pursue my interest in the energetic healing arts. Perhaps the specific reason didn't matter, though. I just felt deeply worn out and often hopelessly sad. I knew something was off, and I didn't know what to do next. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. I began to talk with anyone who would listen to me about these feelings. Workshops about mindfulness and neuroscience started to catch my eye. I began to apply the suggestions for myself and teach what I was learning. The more I learned and taught, the more I wanted to learn. I began to realize that the suffering I had been experiencing was decreasing the more I brought my focus to the present moment. When I calm myself and become curious about what is, it helps to decrease the suffering component of it. Simple tasks of daily living that Anne Lamott writes about, sweeping or doing dishes, can bring us to the present moment, and a kind of peaceful joy can arise from that. Sometimes for me, it's more of a bubbly, childlike joy, along with a desire to share it. The other day, I was leaving the grocery store and noticed an amazing sky. I called out to someone in the parking lot, and they looked up and said, "Oh, wow." Deeply satisfying joy. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Now let us join together in singing our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, in your teal hymnal and on the screen.
We extinguish this flame, but not the warmth of our time together, the fire of our passion, or the glow of presence in our hearts. Our worship has ended, and our service begins. Go in peace.